Okay, very good. We introduced several working capital topics, and we are ready to talk about trade receivables management, a delicate and important issue for a finance manager. When we consider trade receivables management, we must focus on three main areas. First, we must pre-screen our customers and make a preliminary judgment if they are creditworthy. This will ultimately prevent us from giving credit that will likely turn into bad debts. Screening should also continue for existing clients. We must monitor and assess their ability to repay their payables. The second area consists of having a credit terms policy, which is adequate and doesn't put the firm's liquidity at risk. We should define the maximum credit new customers can have, and existing customers must have certain credit limits too. The amount of credit admissible per customer is a function of a client's size and their importance to the firm. The third area of receivables management is about the final collection of receivables. We must make sure our customers are reminded the amount they owe us has to be paid soon, and to have people who work consistently to decrease the delay of customer payments. If a company doesn't try hard to collect its receivables, clients would be more than willing to postpone their payment, and receivables will skyrocket, and the company will likely experience cash flow problems. Right. Let's describe in more detail what can be done to improve receivables management in each area. There are several steps to follow when we try to assess a customer's creditworthiness. We can always ask for a bank reference. That's A and B. It is unlikely that any problems will arise after we see a customer's bank reference. We shouldn't forget the customer is the bank's client, and the bank has no incentive in providing a disservice to its client. But a failure to provide a passing bank reference is alarming and will be a strong yellow, if not a red, light for us. Another option is to obtain a trade reference. This time, it would be much more efficient if we contact a company that deals with this client and ask for their opinion. If we have a business or personal connection with such a company, that would be even better, as their opinion will be less biased. Depending on the size of the client, we can also try to improve our assessment by reading their credit rating, gathering information available in financial media. The drawback of this approach is that the information available there will be in the news, and we want to get ahead of the news to make informed decisions. And finally, we can improve our assessment of a client if we visit their facilities. This is probably the best technique of them all. If the credit we are giving the client is substantial, it is worth visiting them on site and forming a first-hand opinion. Usually, seasoned managers can form an opinion rather quickly, and it is the precise one after so many years in the business. It need not be made obvious to the client you are visiting them to assess their solvability. You can simply say your company wants to serve them better and offer a tailored service. Once we have decided a client is creditworthy, we must address the next area of accounts receivable management: credit terms and monitoring of receivables. One of the first things on our agenda when granting deferred payments is agreeing on the credit terms they will abide. We must define clearly how often we will expect our payments. What is the maximum amount they can shop for on credit? And what is the penalty if payments are not sent on time? Different clients will have different credit terms based on their relationship with the firm, internal credit rating scoring, and mostly based on their importance in terms of size and profitability. Credit limits should be flexible if the volumes purchased by clients increase and we gain proof the client is serious and trustworthy. However, we should also be cautious because some ill-faith companies apply the following trick. Start working with a new supplier and pay their first few orders as soon as possible. And then, when the supplier allows them to make a larger order on credit, they stop paying. This is why credit analysis must be multifaceted. We must monitor the development of trade receivables throughout business operations. Two of the most popular ways to do that are carrying out an accounts receivable analysis and a credit utilization report. An accounts receivable analysis looks at the amount owed by each client and the number of days their payment has been outstanding. Such an analysis shows us about the average state of receivables and about the total amount due by the company. A credit utilization report will show us how much of each client's credit limit has been used. This will indicate to us whether we must talk to clients and ask them to reduce the receivables outstanding or negotiate increasing their limit if the volume of business of that client is increasing. The final area finance managers must concentrate on when we talk about accounts receivable is the collection of cash. This is the goal. If you collect cash, you've accomplished your mission. To do that efficiently, there are several best practices we could apply. First, we must make sure invoices are sent promptly. This is the first time clients receive notice of their obligation. So, any delay in sending out a timely invoice is our fault, actually. Nobody will pay us if we don't send them an invoice. Another method that is quite effective, but much less friendly, is sending chasing letters and making chasing phone calls. It means to solicit clients and remind them they owe us money. These tactics can be very effective, but should be applied with caution, as we must preserve the relationship with our clients and avoid endangering our future business. If payments have been missing for some time and chasing calls are not effective, the senior person who handles the specific client relationship can try calling personally to understand why the payment is still missing. Once this step has been taken and it produces no effect, we will be forced to stop the client's supplies and proceed with legal action if a payment is not made within a reasonable amount of time. This isn't great for us, as we will incur even more costs for legal fees, and it is still uncertain whether we can receive the full amount, especially if the client faces bankruptcy. Many businesses handle bad debtors by signing an agreement with an external debt collection agency. It's beneficial to hire specialized agents with plenty of experience dealing with bad debts on a large scale. What needs to be remembered is that we will sustain losses, as the amount recovered will never be equal to the original amount owed by the client. Okay, good. In our next lesson, we will go through a few practical examples that will help us reinforce what we've learned here. Thanks for watching.